Well, thanks for checking out this interview. I got a friend of mine that I haven't met, and I consider us friends because you know a bunch of my friends and we've kind of interacted on email threads and stuff, but it's actually our first time getting able to kind of do face-to-face here. So Jason Lee, thank you so much for hanging out and doing a little interview here.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be part of it, and I've enjoyed this series so far for our team, even just watching and hearing about everybody else's take on it. Really, we've learned a lot and have enjoyed it. So it's fun now to be part of it, and maybe somebody can learn something from us. I'm not too high expectations on that, but maybe I'll just share what I've watched on the other videos and claim it as my own today. Ran.
Well, I think for sure, and we kind of echo this all the time, just with everybody doing church online, that there really is a strong community. And I think everybody has stolen everything from everybody. And it's one of those things, I don't even know who originally, I can't tell you how many times I bring up ideas with people and I'm like, that's not my idea. That was, this church did this church did this. And one of the things that started this kind of connection outside of, there's a large Facebook community that Life Church started years ago, the online church practitioners, which is, I love that name. Is the iMinistry conference was a conference that Lake Point put on for years that we would gather together in Dallas. And now the Church IT now is offering up a track, which is coming up here. Talk a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, sure. So we're partnering with Jeremy and his team, just as iMinistry kind of ran its course and actually didn't have a gathering last year. And like the week before I was ready to book my ticket and learned that it was going to happen, I was really bummed about it. And since then, I've been just really having some conversations with Jeremy and the team just about, is there a mesh point between what the Church IT Network is doing in the national conference and what the iMinistry team was doing. And so this year, we're having a online ministry track at the Church IT Network National Conference. And so trying something new. We think there's a lot of overlap between the technology and ministry pieces of it, but also recognize that it's a little different and that some folks are more focused on the boxes and wires of it. Some folks are focusing on the web and development side of it. And then even some are more on the pastoral side. And so recognizing that and kind of having a couple different tracks with the conference this year, we're really excited about it. We've actually started to see the online ministry track lineup of workshop and teachers starting to flesh out, and I'm super stoked about what's coming with that. But really, I think it's just with the convergence of technology and IT, not only in online ministry, but with AVL and all of those worlds kind of meshing together. It's kind of a natural place, and so we pitched the idea to the leadership team of the Church IT Network, and they've been really receptive to that and running with that. So yeah, October 8th through 9th are the dates for the conference, and registration will open hopefully the first couple weeks of June.
Yeah, and I know that's been a thing, especially if you're watching this and you're new in the church online space. It's always been a dilemma where you have a lot of churches have naturally empowered technical people, and then sometimes the technical person isn't super pastoral, and then sometimes you empower the pastoral person who's not technical, and there's like this weird, the pastoral thinks, well, why can't you do this? And the technical is like, well, how do you talk to, and sometimes what has happened is you have this new type of person in church space where you have to be aware, but you also, and it's both end where I'm really excited about this. I definitely think, especially if you're a church, bring your technical person, also bring your pastor, bring both. And then if you are that unique person, which, Jason, you are that hybrid, you're that unicorn that's very rare, who is pastoral, but also has the technical mind. I'm the fake technical, I call it. I'm fake news. And so where I can kind of pretend, I just have the glasses and sometimes that's all you need.
We won't tell anybody,
Thank you. It's our secret. I just love when people come up to me and they, especially in our church, they start, sometimes especially being in Orange County in Southern California, we have a lot of, development hubs here. So we have people that, go to our church that work at World of Warcraft or something, and they'll come up with me and try to talk to me about something. I'm like, dude, I have all seminary degrees. Like, if you want to talk about Corinth or Greek, let's do it. but I have no idea how JavaScript works. I barely understand how a camera works. But that's going to be a great track. I'm going to be promoting it too more within the list. But if you are looking at jumpstarting your church online or either meeting people to learn strategy, this is going to be something that is going to be a very pastoral track. But there also will be other tracks there for more technical things. So I think it's a great hybrid. So more to come on that. And for URL, what's the URL for the Church IT conference?
churchitnetwork.com.
Yeah, great. churchitnetwork.com. So, okay, so let's jump into church online. So first off, how old is your physical church and how long have you been doing church online?
Yeah, so Northwoods is about 26, 27 years old, and I've been on the staff team now for 11 years, which is crazy to think.
Wow.
Been around that long. But my role has kind of evolved. When I started, I was the IT director and leading a couple of folks in that team. And then over time, really just kind of evolving that role. And we've been doing online ministry probably for about 4 years. And for us, it was, we kind of just stumbled into it, I guess is the best way to say it. Our communications director and I went to our leadership team and said, hey, we think for less than $100 a month, we probably could stream. Should we try that? And it was really sure, let's try that. That sounds like a good idea. And then it just kind of just grown from there. And so, from being just a grand experiment to really something that we're seeing and some life change that we're seeing in people's lives and relationships that we're building with people. Really, week after week, I'm amazed by how God is using our online ministry in ways that, we didn't plan for, but, it's awesome to see God show up in pretty cool ways. So it's been a fun journey. And so, short answer to the question, about 3 or 4 years is how long we've been kind of in the game.
Yeah. And then just so for perspective, I always say this is not to like compare. Sometimes it's helpful just to know, especially if you have an IT person at your church, you're going to be a little bit of a larger church. Yeah. So how big is your normal attendance on a weekend?
Yep. So, and totally get why you asked that question. It's an economy of scale.
Yeah.
And kind of a hook to hang it on. And so our weekend attendance is roughly between 5,000 and 6,000 a weekend. And we have 5 campuses. And if you count online, we have 6. Yeah. We average somewhere in the range of probably about 2,000 people. Of that 5 are online.
Sweet. And how much of your time do you get to focus online? That's the question I'm always curious at. Obviously a church your size, and obviously you're one of the main leaders there, so you're doing probably all sorts of things, but how much time do you get to focus online?
Yeah, so it's a tension that we navigate here. With me being IT director and leading that team, there's day-to-day operational things that have to happen. So I'd say probably about 30 to 35% of my time throughout the week is online. But that as we continue to see our audience growing online and our congregation online growing, that is changing. And, really we've started now having conversations with our leadership of it's sustainable for this season, but what's the next step? And really we've seen huge growth happen online. Just 2 years ago, we were less than 200 people a weekend online. So just to see, year over year, 3-digit % growth, it's getting attention. And so even organizationally, it's less of a hobby that, the IT and communications team initially started to, almost a quarter or more of our congregation on a given weekend is attending online. And that has garnered some attention from our leadership, and how do we care for those folks? And it can't be a hobby project anymore. Yeah. And so, we're kind of in that, I don't know if ugly duckling phase is as accurate, but it's that phase where, nobody planned this year for a large portion of my time to be dedicated online, but out of necessity, we're doing that. The cool thing is I've got a great team in IT who's picked up a lot of the slack and continue the operational things. And, I've continued to have a little more time to kind of transition to focus online still while leading our IT team.
Wow. I'm curious. So when you guys jumped into live streaming, and when you say $100 a month, what in the world are you doing? Some hackery? Like what is because live streaming has gotten a lot cheaper. It wasn't 4 years ago. It was really expensive. Like what were you doing? Like what?
we rolled our own in Amazon. We had
Oh
a
my
browser
goodness.
that we've been up and each weekend, and I do not recommend that.
Yeah.
But that's what we did. And so, and really our audience at the beginning was so small. It was
Yeah.
like, we can't afford to go pay a CDN. So can we
Yeah.
do it for, dollars a week? And so that's how we kind of figured out to do it. And it worked well. I mean, it really, the crazy thing is the way our online ministry started was that we had a guy who had never attended our church, but was from Minnesota. And he emails us one day and he's like, hey, I'm a new believer and I just finished watching all of your archives online, which was at that time 7 years of teaching. And he's like, I've watched them all. What's next?
Oh my
And we're
God.
like, well, we've been kind of toying with this idea of live streaming. How about you be like our beta tester and you be with us every weekend? And so it was like 3 of us online together at first. And for us, it took a while to get there, to get the tech figured out and have good audio levels and good quality video. And so we just did this private beta testing for like 6 or 8 months with this guy from Montana or from Minnesota. And, he's
Wow.
since attended several times and come to campus, and, great relationship with him. But it was just like, hey, let's try this together and see how it goes. And so, yeah, we were kind of rolling our own thing, and it has benefits. But once it got to a point where we had, several hundred people a weekend with us, that trying to support that and make sure it worked on everybody's devices was just not a fun gig. So we transitioned out of that quickly.
We have a person now 15 hours a week that their main job is just to quality check everything. Like, and it's because it got so, there's so many different ways to watch stuff. And I was curious because I was like, man, 5 years ago when we started, I think we started live streaming 8 years ago actually, but I remember it got up to a point where we were paying like $5,000 to $6,000 a month in just streaming, costs. And now obviously that has come down substantially. And obviously you got Facebook Live and all these things. So it's like so much easier now for any church to just jumpstart, but it used to be a premium. So I was like, $100, what are you doing? But like, that's where everything cheap comes through Amazon. When somebody's like, oh yeah, my email, I just host my email there and I don't have to pay per, like that's where you got to have a little bit of a sharper mind in some of those areas. Oh, well, okay. So next question. So
Yep.
with your church, what is your primary goal? Are you guys targeting local, global, or is it a little bit of both?
I'd say it's a hybrid of both. And really, we're not really intentional outside of the U.S. right now.
Mm.
And that's just how it's kind of evolved for us. It's not like we've said, oh, we're going to ignore everybody else. In fact, we have from probably the year into it, we had a gal who lives in Germany, who attends every single weekend, considers Northwoods Online her home, came here and got baptized one Easter. So we've seen that kind of international touch happen, but we don't have a ton of that, and we're really not pursuing that really actively. But we do have some groups, mostly where we have some ministry partners that'll pop up, and those partners will attend with us and those kind of things. Really, kind of our focus for online and our goal for online is really threefold. One being introduce people who are in the geographic region of our campuses to Northwoods and figure out a way to help them plan their visit and attend on a campus and get connected. That's really the number one piece for us for online. And which, when we first started saying that, it felt a little countercultural. We have an online ministry that's driving people to our campuses. But as we've really kind of talked that through, that really feels pretty comfortable to us. The second piece then is, if you can't attend one of our campuses because you're outside of the geographic footprint, then attend online with us. But then think about who can join you in your living room as a local community with you to then be doing church with you. We call those micro campuses. And then the third is, okay, if you're unwilling to do that or not yet ready to be at that stage of having someone in your living room and sitting eyeball to eyeball with them, then join us in our online community. And it's really just a discussion board that we use just for talking about the weekend service and having some connection point from Sunday to Sunday. And I would say we don't have a ton of engagement in that, quite frankly, because that's the third wheel to it, and we're really not driving people there. I've said quite a few times with our team here is, how do we get people from the destination being the computer screen to being in community? And if that means I'm connecting somebody who attends online to a local church in their area, that's a win for us.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know, we might lose a couple people that way. No big deal. We're not in it
Yeah.
to the biggest audience. We're in it to help people connect in community. And so that's a big deal to us around here, related to getting people plugged into community. And that's really how, you know, we've found that our online ministry fits and models well what we're
Mm.
already doing at our local campuses. So that's kind of the approach we're taking with it.
That's gold. That I love that plan a visit idea. We haven't done something like that. I mean, we have stuff on our site that does that, but I love that intention of plan your visit, you know, to lead to the local. I'm always surprised that more people are like, they get so wrapped up in the online part, but it's exactly what you're talking about. It's, you know, we never want to leave somebody online, but it's driving them to something physical. But I love that intentionality on those
And
three.
it becomes a necessity for us because it's not my full-time gig.
Yeah.
I can't keep people online without engaging them in the campus, because I have a huge team that can help support them at all of our campuses. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to use that vehicle. But you know, that's kind of, to see, also then in the last few months, our campus planting strategy is starting to evolve and revolve around that, where, you know, if we can get, you know, 10 or 12 people into a living room and then start growing that group, then to see, will that launch into one of our campuses? And that's really how we're finding where our next campuses are going to be. We're
Mm.
not really focused on, hey, we're going to go to this city and this town and kind of bring people together. Our approach has been, is there a core group of people who are already connected with Northwoods in a community, and can we infuse some energy and resources into that group and then raise them up? And so this summer, hopefully, probably late summer, our first micro group that we worked with is launching into a campus
Oh my
in
goodness.
Princeton. So they started around 12 or 15 people. They're, you know, watching weekend services. We infused some leadership and some resources. They started using our weekend streaming. That group's up to about 75, and hopefully by the time we get to launch in August and September, we'll see that group actually launching into a campus over 100 people. And so that's kind of
Wow.
exciting to see that, you know, our micro campus strategy kind of is working as we're evolving it. You know, and then we also just launched a campus over Easter this last weekend or last month, and they attended online as a group before they were launching their campus,
Mm.
just build some synergy as a campus together and not have to wait for that date to start. And now we even have a group in Montana that there's 6 or 8 of them that are in their living room every Sunday afternoon. And I found out they don't even have internet there. So they download the service and they play
Wow.
TV, but they're getting that idea of being together in community. And, you know, so really our campus strategy is evolving out of that, which is fun to be on the front end. And I've said to our team, you know, online kind of is the engine or the driver
Mm-hmm.
for creating those groups and identifying those peoples, which it gets pretty exciting and fun to think that we're part of that strategy, just not another campus that meets over here and does its own thing, but really being the driver or the engine to generate, you know, some of that process.
Wow. I love that. I've spent so much time in the last couple of years just thinking about that. And I love that you guys are doing it. We've had some success, some failure, more failure than success for sure, around that. But today I had a meeting today with our multi-site team continually trying to figure out how can we be more of an engine. And, you know, we were rolling around. There's some areas that we're thinking about planting in the next 2 years. And I said, I would go to so, you know, we do a kind of a scrum model here where, you know, you kind of go in, propose, and everything gets on the list. I said, one of the things I would be proposing that once you guys have your areas, I said, first off, anytime we market anything online, let's market those areas. Second, what if we could have a script or something on our site that if we notice somebody's in that area, have like, hey, would you attend something, and start building email list around these 3 cities, you know. But like, you know, you're leading that charge for sure, because that's just definitely something online, like partnerships between online teams and, you know, multi-sites or church plants. There should be way more of a fusion. And, you know, ours even, like, it's there and we talk, but it isn't this clean there's more silos than anything.
I think part of it, because we aren't intentional where we're going for
Yeah.
campuses, and it's more organic, that fits well with our culture. And I think part of that's just knowing leadership style and whatnot. And And for us, we're not going into a community unless we know we have a core group of people who have our DNA already there. And for me, it's like, well, that's a natural way to find that is, do we have a pocket of people who are already attending online? But it's fun to try and figure out ways to help transfer folks from online to the pews or the seats. Even before Easter, we did a push of, hey, email me and let me help you plan your visit, and we'll even have it save you a seat and give you a special gift if you'll
Oh,
let us know
wow.
who you are. And we had 3 or 4 people do that, and a couple different of our campuses, we were able to pass off to the campus pastor, hey, this person's planning to come for the first time, and here's their name, here's their information, and then the campus team just runs with it. But it was kind of a fun exercise to see, okay, if we throw this out here, will people take us up on that? And we had a couple. I mean, we're not talking hundreds or thousands, we're talking less than
Yeah,
a dozen, but anybody did it, I was like, yay, it's a win,
that's
right?
awesome.
But it's kind of cool just to be able to see our campus teams embrace that as kind of as a vehicle to help them out too.
Well, I'm still in that idea for sure. So, so it's,
And bring it back.
I know. So, okay. So right now, how do you do your church online? Like what platforms do you use? And, if you do any type of live streaming, who do you use right now?
Yeah. So months ago, that would have been a very simple thing to say, but
Mhm.
now it's become a little more complex because we're using Church Online platform as our primary. And that's where we really invest our volunteer resources and our efforts on the weekend to be around the Church Online platform. But because of our streaming provider being able to push to Facebook Live, we're like, well, let's try that too. And so we are streaming as well to Facebook Live. And even now, as recent as 3 weeks ago, we're now streaming to YouTube as well,
Wow.
because we had some folks that are like, hey, I want to watch on my smart TV, but your stream doesn't work on my smart TV's browser. And it's like, we're never going to fix that on every
Yeah.
TV. So we started thinking about, well, every smart TV does have a YouTube app. So, let's try that. And so we've had some good success with that. Not many viewers are joining us, but we do have a few people that are using that. And
Yeah.
the hard part is that now I feel like I have multi-campus on my online ministry, because the online church online folks really don't interact with the Facebook folks, and the
Yeah.
Facebook folks won't draw into the online campus. And then you got YouTube, which is this chat happening on its own by itself, and so we're just trying to process that and figure that out. Then you have on top of that Roku and Apple TV, which are full screen with no chat.
Yes.
Uh, so really, we have, I think, 5 vehicles for people to kind of pick and choose from. I've even found it funny when I'm moderating or hosting the chat on Facebook Live, and I've got a volunteer hosting and church online, and I'm trying to think, man, if these people would engage in the online community and online campus, this would be better. But I'm telling people to go from one social experience to another social experience just because I want them to. And does that make sense? And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, go over here and chat with somebody else. So we've really just tried to use the best of both. So we'll say, hey, if you need online prayer in Facebook Live, then go to our church online. So we'll put our Northwoods.online, and we'll push them over there just for live prayer. But we're not telling them to go over there and participate in the chat
Yeah.
because it doesn't make sense. They're already chatting or commenting in Facebook Live, and so for us, it's just kind of navigating those differentiating pieces. And I'm trying not to fragment the audience too much, but also then think, man, the footprint of Facebook is huge, the footprint of YouTube is huge. Why wouldn't we want our content there? So we've just chosen to deal with the problems that might come of it later,
Yeah.
and go through it. So that's kind of platforms. And then back end, we're using we built a white box computer that runs Wirecast, and then we stream to churchstreaming.tv, and
Oh,
really,
cool.
really enjoyed working with those guys. We've been with them, I think, about 2 years now. And it was one of those, I talked with Rob and their team there, and we're like, oh, we'll do the demo. We'll probably go back to Amazon hosting on our own, but we'll try it. She's kind of asked me to try it. And we did about a 2-week demo, which was actually in live production for 2 weeks. And we're like, we're not going back.
Yeah.
For us, it was we didn't have to worry about the support side of it.
Oh,
We didn't
yeah.
have to do servers. We didn't have to build apps. We didn't have to take the telephone calls when this browser or that browser didn't work. So it was so easy for us, and really have invested in the relationship with those guys. And I went to WFX last year with Rob and his team. They asked me to come as a customer advocate, and
Oh,
I
wow.
told them, what are you having me to come as your booth babe? I don't understand what it is, but whatever. Okay. So I came and was able just to tell people about, how we're doing it and how they've been a great support team to us. And, Rob's been really flexible in adding different features that are really only things that we ask for. I mean, we run 28 or 30 replays in his system now for our simulated live services. And he's kind of helped us and worked through that. And, so, I mean, great team to work with. They have weekend support that I love. So, that's kind of the ecosystem of what we're doing.
Yeah, no, that I don't know if I met Rob, but I met somebody at one of the iMinistry conferences, and they seem like great guys. And
Yeah.
there's so many different, for sure, one of the things that I, say, like, for sure, having a good live streamer that, who can talk to your community in any way is worth so much money. It's like, because there's so many variables of things not working, especially with live, and that's great. And I love that they can push directly to Facebook Live. That's a huge
Yeah, they
thing.
were actually one of the first CDNs that I'm aware of in the church space that was doing that. And they came to us and said, "Hey, you want to try this?" And like, "Is it going to work?" And they're like, "We think so." We're like, "Okay, let's try it." So we were streaming to a private Facebook group really early on, just
Oh, wow.
testing it out and kicking the tires, and really have enjoyed seeing how others are now using that. Even just the ability to plan to go live on Facebook and have
The
a reminder
schedule. Yeah,
available for folks to click on that and get a reminder. I came across that from Austin a couple weeks ago, and I was like, how are you doing that? Because I want that. And
yeah.
there's beg, borrow, and stealing that idea, and then working through with our team to kind of plan ahead and schedule that. And like I said, it comes with some costs that our audience is fragmented, but at the end of the day, really for us, it's keeping people engaged. 60% of our audience is people who attend our campuses.
Yeah.
So it's the folks who aren't going to come to church anyways on Saturday or Sunday, and can we still keep them engaged through the series that we're doing or whatever? And our leadership really struggled that they felt like it was a siphon off of our local campuses by doing online at first. But when our teaching team started seeing the reality come through, that folks are staying better connected and coming back the next weekend, whereas they might stay away. If, I missed a week in the series, I'm not going to come back for the rest of it.
Yeah.
But, missed a week, watched online, but I'm now back in the seats. So for us, it really has become kind of an augmented piece there that really helps keep people connected who probably were going to stay home because of the sick kid or whatever anyways. So let's engage that, embrace that, and connect them in.
I know you probably saw this, but I saw the article that Bobby from Life Church posted about how they have grown they've learned that church online, outside of just being an outreach of new people, but it has, you're able to engage people that would have maybe years ago disengaged longer with church online, which is such a huge word, especially from him, because I know that they look at data and with their online, but I know I've heard that, and you're ciphering off people, and we've dealt with that internally, some of those conversations. But we're engaging people that would have checked out. And when you see the stats of less and less of your average member is coming every week, it's in that 30 week a year range. Now church online is able to engage those people more regularly. It's a huge opportunity to build vision and continue to engage and remind them the value of coming back, for sure. So you kind of mentioned this. I mean, you've talked about this, but maybe the 1 minute version of like, how do you move people from your crowd to your core in your model? You've mentioned it with plan a visit and so forth, but what does that look like?
Yeah, it's really trying to identify a next step. So each month we focus online with, this is the next step for the online attendee. So before Easter, it was plan a visit, come to Easter service. After Easter, it was, if you said yes to Jesus, baptism services are coming up, come to our campus for baptism. Now we're kind of focusing on the next step out of that, and is really, if you haven't engaged in the campuses for the last 2 months that we've tried to do that, then if your Northwoods Online is your home, then let's get you engaged and get you volunteering and serving and connecting with others. And so really just trying to intentionally find some focus each month for what their next step is, and then call them to that next step. And frequently that next step is, let me help you get engaged at a local campus. I had a guy, even this week, we had baptism weekend this last weekend, and I was just talking a little bit on camera about what baptism is and what the next step is. And if you're attending online, how can you even, think through what my next step is? And if you want to get baptized, how am I do that? And the guy's like, hey, I just don't even know what my next step is. Can you help me with that? And so I was able to connect him with one of our campus pastors and just say, hey, this guy's interested in just identifying his next step. Can we help walk through that process with him? And so that's really what, it's language you hear at our campuses. You're always, my responsibility as a ministry leader is to know the folks within my circle of influence, where they are in their journey and what the next step is for them. Now, I may not know every single next step for every single person, but that's the language we're using and talking through is, oh, well, maybe your next step is volunteering or, crossing the line of faith or baptism or membership or serving or whatever it may be. And so really it's the same thing. We've tried to just evolve that online and said, okay, you raise your hand virtually, email me, somehow reach out. And if you do that, we will then come alongside of you in that journey. So that's kind of how we're doing that.
I love it. I love it. And you guys are doing it well. And wow, I'm learning a lot about what you, I mean, I've noticed that from afar, seeing what you guys are doing, but for sure. And from hearing from others, they talk about your guys' church for sure. And you specifically, but I'm loving the plan of Visit. I love that you guys are using one of your new multi-sites is coming up through that. I mean, there's so much there that I hope you document more of this, like for sure, because we need to share this more within the group. But I guess my last question is, since you've been doing church online for a while here, and obviously being part of the church space, what is the number one tool you wish you had when you started church online?
Yeah, I was talking to my team this morning, about this question because I was like, I know he's going to ask. And I was like, things that are coming to mind. I was like, is there anything that's just like, we have to talk about that? And they're like, no. Really where we landed was one, find a good CDN. That was the thing that in our discussion this morning was, yes, you can roll your own, but you don't need to. Like talked earlier in this segment was, the price point has come down so drastically with some of these service providers from even 3, 4, 5 years ago. You can get a good quality CDN with great support on the weekend, and you don't have to worry about any of that. I've heard several folks are like, I want to stream to Facebook and I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to stream here and that. And they're trying to do all of that from their encoder locally. And they all of those things. I'm like, no. A good CDN will take care of all that for you. And you just simply send that stream out and you call it a day. So that's probably the biggest thing. There's two little things that come to mind when I think about that question too, is we're using the term, I guess, is drip irrigation in communications. Used to me, but really just using some automated emails to people who will somehow identify themselves to us. And we're using a response card. And so if you say that you attend for the first time, you're going to get a welcome email from me. If you say that you attend regularly online, you're going to get a email that I write every week that's different, but they get those somewhere between 20 and 27 hours after they fill out the form, just so it feels a little more personalized. I was doing all that manually to begin with. I was like, there's got to be a better way. But I didn't want it to feel like, I hit submit and then suddenly I get an email, and that's clearly not it doesn't feel warm and fuzzy at all. So for us, the drip irrigation tools really helped a lot. So that was probably that piece. And then the last one that we've just started venturing into is using an online intro and wrap up on camera. And so me and a few others on our host team will come on before the service starts and just kind of give an idea of what the service is going to look like for the day. And then at the end, the teaching pastor will dismiss the congregation and then just pivot to the camera. And then they're speaking directly to our online audience and giving them a next step out of that. And we've had great feedback from the online attendees saying, we feel like we're no longer just a fly on the wall, but you actually planned for us. And we've been drawn into worship to participate a little bit more. And so I wish we would have started that a long time ago, but I don't know that we were ready organizationally to think that would be a value until in the last 6 to 8 weeks. But man, we tried it, and everybody around the table was like, "This is a great ad for us." But the season was right for us organizationally. So those are probably,
those are good ones.
Some of the three things that I probably would have, if I could have, would have, should have. Those would be.
What drip automation tool are you using?
Well, we're actually all of our form stuff for online right now lives in WordPress. It does not live in our
Gotcha.
database, which shame on me, right? For the IT guy, and it's a silo. But we're
Wow. Yeah, that's you. Wow. I mean,
there's a reason for that, and that may go away soon, but there's a reason for the season, right? And so really, we're using Gravity Forms
okay.
inside of WordPress, and then there's in Gravity Forms there's an add-on that you can do the automated notifications and whatnot, depending on just some rules that you put in place on how people respond, where things go. With that, we've just recently added, you can say you attend one of our campuses, and then that campus pastor will get an email with the person saying, hey, Jason at Canton is excited to have you back in a few weeks. If you need anything, here's his contact information to reach out. And the campus teams have really enjoyed at least seeing who their people are who are attending online, and maybe they didn't in the moment recognize they're away, but because they get the notification, they can then reach out and say, hey, hope to see you back next week.
I love that. I know I'm always curious what people use, because it's like, there's just our church standard is Wufoo Forms, and so that's kind of our thing. And I like it because there is integrations where you can do quite a bit of rules with it there and trigger a MailChimp list to spin off other stuff. But there's so many options now that it's kind of like pick your poison a little bit. But wow, okay, so for sure, guys, if you want to, I would say highly based. Even you could even see I was asking very specific questions towards you because I'm learning on my own here. But check out the Church IT Network Conference coming up in October. I'll be promoting that, but for sure check that out. I'll put links to that. Especially you can get to know Jason more. And obviously Jason I've seen you do this over and over again. He's got a big heart to help people. If there's something specifically, definitely engage him. I know that he'll love to answer something, but dude, thank you so much for hanging out. And this was super helpful, and I hope it's not the last time, for sure.
Absolutely. I've had fun. I appreciate you having me on. And, if for no other reason, come to Dallas for the conference for the food. You will not go hungry. So there's going to be good barbecue, some good meat, some good Tex-Mex,
I love it. I have grown to love, I didn't really fall in love with Tex-Mex at first, but I've grown to love it. So, cause it's its own version of Southern California Mexican versus it's completely different. But okay, man, for sure, many more conversations, and I'm going to be asking you some specific stuff about this microsite stuff, but thanks for hanging out today.